If you are sitting on a plane for the first time in your life, you might wonder, what will happen if this plane crashes? And if by chance you survive, you might think, how will I manage to survive? Today, I am going to tell you about a plane crash incident where people had to eat dead bodies to stay alive. This story dates back to when a rugby team from Uruguay, called Old Christians Club, used to travel to Chile every year to play with their friends and family. In October 1972, according to their plan, the team, along with friends and family, booked a flight from Uruguay to Santiago, Chile. The flight was scheduled to depart at 8 a.m. On board the plane were 19 team players, 21 friends and family members, and 5 crew members, with the plane being piloted by 2 pilots, Ferradas and Lagarara. Among them, Ferradas was the experienced pilot and often traveled this route. However, during this flight, Ferradas handed over the controls to the co-pilot, Lagarara, so he could gain expertise. As the plane neared Chile, near a port, the pilots informed air traffic control that they were preparing to land. However, the co-pilot mistakenly took the plane to the wrong location. Air traffic control granted them permission to land, unaware of the error. As the plane attempted to land, it suddenly encountered snow-covered mountains and crashed into the Andes. The crash caused the plane to break into 4 pieces. It became trapped in the middle of the Andes Mountains, making rescue efforts extremely difficult. When the plane crashed, 5 people died immediately, and 7 others went missing. Only 33 people were left, struggling to survive in harsh conditions. Initially, they tried to manage with whatever food they had, but their supplies began to run out. At this point, 2 of the survivors suggested a shocking idea. They should eat the bodies of those who had died in the crash to stay alive. But then another disaster struck when a severe snowstorm hit, making the plane's condition even worse and finishing off the remaining food. One of the men then took a piece of glass from the shattered window and began cutting off a piece of flesh from a dead body, starting to eat. As he did this, the others also began to eat. One of the men managed to fix an old radio transmitter using batteries, and what he heard was shocking. Chile had called off the rescue operation just hours before. He shared this news with the others, telling them that if they wanted to survive, they would have to take drastic action themselves. Survivors, they devised a plan to send 3 men to look for help on the other side of the mountain. These 3 men would take some food with them. However, as they began climbing, one of the men realized that if 3 of them left, there wouldn't be enough food for the remaining survivors. So, one of the men returned, leaving only 2 to continue their perilous journey. After many days, the 2 men finally reached the top of the mountain, filled with anxiety that the other side might also be snow-covered, making their survival impossible. But as they reached the top, they felt a sense of relief, seeing that the other side had no snow and had several cows grazing. They also spotted a fire burning in the distance. The 2 men began shouting for help, but their voices went unheard. They waited anxiously, and the next day, a man appeared on the other side of the river, riding a horse. The survivors shouted for help, but the man couldn't hear them. He told them he'd return the next day. The next day, the horseman returned with paper and pencil. The survivors wrote down their story. The survivors tied the paper to a rock and threw it towards the horseman on the other side of the river. The horseman picked up the paper, read it, and immediately took it to the police. The police then dispatched a rescue team, which first rescued the 2 men. After hearing their story, the rescue team accompanied them back to the crash site, where they rescued the remaining survivors.